We are back with another Will My Fave Make roster. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Justice, giving you all my verdicts and views about women's basketball. And today, you guessed it, we're going to do the Connecticut Sun. Now, Connecticut reminded me a lot of the Mystics, just in the sense of like being super young and, struggling last year just because of their youth. Again, they had a new head coach last year, a lot of change in their roster, lost, honestly, their entire core with AT and DeWanna Bonner and Bree Jones, like all of the people who kind of built Connecticut for the last, 10 years, everyone was gone. So they were starting fresh. It was definitely a rebuild over in Connecticut. And with that being said, that was kind of reflective in last season. I don't think anybody was shocked that Connecticut was going through some challenges, but a bright spot was towards the end of the season, they definitely started to click. Like, I think if they would have, I know they had a bunch of international players who came over late, specifically Layla Lacan. I think if they would have got Layla earlier in the season, their season would have looked a lot different, but they started to click. And it kind of gave you hope that if they were able to keep this core, add in some new pieces and kind of commit to the rebuild, this could be a good team down the line. So let's talk about specifically about who is coming to camp. So similar to, honestly, the other rosters, when you look at who's coming to camp, vet protected contracts, unprotected contracts, the whole nine, and you kind of look at the numbers, there's basically a set foundation for this team. So where you might think, oh, there's all these spots, there's really not that many spots available when you do the numbers. So let's look at our vet protected contracts. So the Connecticut Sun only have 4 vet protected contracts in Olivia Nelson-Ododa, Brittany Griner, Diamond Miller, and Kennedy Burke. And then on our unprotected contracts, we have 4 of those as well. Aaliyah Edwards, Anissa Mara, Sanaya Rivers, and then last but not least, Layla Lacan. And so right now we are sitting at 8. Now let's talk about the draft. Now, similar to the Mystics, Connecticut had a couple of first round picks, early second round picks. So these in my eyes are priority picks that I can anticipate that they will be on roster when everything is said and done. With the number 12 pick, they selected Nell Ngoma. The number 15 pick, they selected Gianna Neepkins. And then they turned around and had another pick at 18. And they selected Charlize Layer Walker. And then they also had the number 37th pick and they selected Taylor Bigby. So let's talk about who did the Connecticut Sun extend training camp contracts to. Starting with Shea Petty, Harmony Turner, Madison Hayes, Reagan Beers, and last but not least, Toure. Like I said, I believe the Connecticut Sun have a nice foundation of what their team is going to look like. Obviously, 4 players on vet protected contracts, Brittany, Diamond, Olivia, and Kennedy, all will be on roster. So that gives us 4. And then our 4 players on unprotected contracts also, I believe, will be on roster. So that is Aaliyah, Layla, Sanaya, and Anissa. So that brings us to 8. Now, this is where, similar to the Mystics, when you have a lot of early picks, those are usually your first rounders are going to make roster. So considering that the Connecticut Sun had 2 first rounders and then a early second rounder, I also anticipate that all 3 of those players will make roster. With that being said, I do believe that Nell, Gianna, and Charlize will all be on the active roster when everything is said and done. So that is going to bring our number to 11. So like I said, as you can see, there's not a lot of space for newcomers to come in and things of that nature. So we're working with only limited options. So let's address the question that I know you guys are here for. Will my fave make roster? Looking at our numbers, guys, we got 1 spot available and 2 development spots. Now, I have my thoughts about what kind of direction the Connecticut Sun will go to. When I look at their roster, it's super young. And the thing about the youth specifically is the oldest player is BG at 35. Everyone else, if we just look at the players we identified that we believe will be on roster, the 8 out of 10, everybody is under the age of 25 except like 2 people. Everybody is under the age of 25. And again, when we're going through a rebuild, it's always nice to have vets in the locker room. The Connecticut Sun already had a large rookie draft class last year, and then potentially adding 3 more rookies to the active roster as well. They're just super young. So keeping that in mind, that kind of influence partially what I think maybe they're taking consideration about who might get this last spot, but there are some other good options as well. So looking at the guards and keeping with the same formula that we have been doing up until this point, I think for the guards, we're looking like outside looking in, it's either going to be Shea or it's going to be Harmony. Shea specifically because of what we talked about, meaning, vet experience, a lot of young kids, and Shea with being in the WNBA as long as she is, the experience that she has on the championship contending teams, things of that nature gives her as like another coach out there. It's just another level of leadership that young teams kind of need sometimes. So I think she edges it out in that capacity, but I wouldn't count Harmony out as well. She's having a good camp. I think she's hungry for that spot as well. Definitely a fan favorite in terms of who people are rooting for to get on roster. So I don't think that she's, going out without a fight. So I do think that last spot is going to come down to Harmony or Shea. In the front yard, I would say is Madison. She's streaky on the offensive end. I think she would be competing with Nell specifically, just because they play the same position. As for the post, like I said, I think that 12 spot will either be a guard. The front court is kind of stacked right now, so they really don't need to bring in another big, especially at that 4-5 position. But there is other options, obviously, because we do have the 2 development spots, which I think ultimately will be the most competitive, especially in this camp, to see who will snag those. So let's talk about that. Now, the Connecticut Sun have options. If the Connecticut Sun choose to go with Shea and give her the 12 spot, I think Harmony takes one of those development spots. I think she gets on the roster either in one of those situations, either on a 12 spot or in the development spot. Just depends on the direction that the Connecticut Sun go. As for the post players, the person that I think sticks out to me the most, that I think has the best chance of snagging that position, is going to be Reagan Beers. Gives them a different look. She's a traditional center, back to the basket, but she's physical. She'll get limited minutes if she gets that 12 spot, just because the front court's really crowded with BG and Aaliyah and Anissa, and people are already clawing, Olivia Nasadota clawing for minutes over there. So I think the development spot is her best bet on getting on roster. Lucky for Reagan, the other people who are fighting for spots to get on roster are mostly all guards, like Shea and Harmony and Madison, and everyone's a guard. So she kind of is in a league of her own right now as the sole center trying to get on roster. So I think that also works in her favor as well. So if I am a betting woman, 12 spot will go to Shea, and then the 2 development spots, I believe, will go to Harmony and Reagan. So what do I think about the Connecticut Sun this season? First of all, I think they're going to have great chemistry. If they are able to build off where they left last season, the thing about the WNBA is every team at the end of the day is competitive in some retrospect. So there's always that. It just depends on how competitive will they be. I don't think they're there yet, obviously, to be really putting some heat on our best teams. I think this season is all about growth when it comes to the players and just seeing their core and their foundation continue to make strides and build on the foundation that they built last year. I think we're going to see some really exciting performances and seasons out of some of these players for sure.